White-Kumar, and we are doing an interview about focusing around the aspects of culture. So, ma'am has also authored lots of cookbooks on Anglo-Indian cuisine as well as a book on Kola Goldfields itself, Walk Down the Memory Lane. So, yes, let's dive in and see what. Yes, ma'am. The first question I wanted to ask you is, what does culture mean to you?
See, the meaning of culture as such is something that you imbibe over generations. It's not something that is tangible, but it's a way of life that you incorporate by watching others or through your parents or your family or community. Culture, you could say, is a way of communication, because you communicate something of a particular period or a particular way of life. So that is culture. Culture to me means the way I was brought up in an Anglo-Indian family. So our culture could be very different from a normal Indian family, and we've always felt the difference between ourselves and our other Hindu or Muslim friends, because our culture taught us to be generous, to be all-encompassing. We don't differentiate between class and creed, and rich and poor. So that, I feel, is a great asset that I got from my Anglo-Indian culture.
That's great. I've also felt this kind of in-between identity because I'm from, again, Kola Goldfields, and we are all Christians.
Yes.
Most of us are.
Yes.
So when I came to study in Bangalore in APS, most of my classmates were Hindus and from other backgrounds and from all over India. So I always felt this very disconnected feeling when it came to Indian identity as well as mediating the Christian part.
Yes, yes.
So yes, I definitely understand that. What is the one thing in life that you're currently admiring? It can be food, it can be a TV show that you're watching, anything.
That I'm currently admiring.
Yes.
Okay. Actually, I could say that I admire one person.
Okay,
that's Mrs. Sonia Gandhi.
Okay.
Not for anything else that she's a Congress president or anything, but she came giving up her culture and embraced the culture of India when she married her husband. And I could relate to that in the sense because mine was also an intercaste wedding. My husband was not an Anglo-Indian, he was a Telugu person.
Okay.
So everything was different. The food, the way of thinking, religion and everything. But we worked on being together and making compromises, and never once did food or religion or anything else come in the middle of us. And my husband passed away about 12 years ago, by which time we had completed 35 years of our marriage, and there was not a day when religion or anything else came into the picture. So I learned to cook Telugu food, then Andhra food. It was very hot. And then my husband was not a practicing Hindu as such. He was a Hindu, but at any time that I had to attend a function along with him in a temple or a family gathering, I would gladly go along with him. Likewise, the same thing, he used to accompany us to church for maybe some functions or anything. But this converting or you becoming a Hindu or him becoming a Christian never ever came into our lives. So that was the beauty. He kept his culture and I kept mine. but we embraced both cultures. And so, like, Diwali was just his people would come over, so they'll bring us sweets what they made at home, and we'd buy the crackers. So it was a celebration of sorts. Christmas, all of them would be the first in our home, and they would savor our kalkals and roast cookies and the cakes. Yeah, so that's the thing. It was a very beautiful relationship, and my daughter has grown up like that in the same way. So she is married to a Catholic Mangalorean, but there was never any differences of opinion or anything. That's why I admire Sonia Gandhi, because she gave up her culture, her way of life, came to India, and see, you could see that she totally embraced the Indian way, even in her dress, and she learned to speak Hindi. Yeah. So that's one person who I admire.
What kind of food do you cook, ma'am? As in this one, is it Andhra cuisine? What did you?
No, Andhra cuisine was when my husband was alive, and of course it was a mishmash. Sometimes it would be Anglo-Indian and sometimes it would be Andhra. So it was always fusion at our dinner table. But once he passed away, then there was no need for me to continue with that, because I also didn't really relish the very spicy food. So I went back into my way of cooking Anglo-Indian food, which is much simpler and with less spices and all that. So yeah, that's what I cook at home now. It's Anglo-Indian food.
How did the journey of your cookbooks begin? Because you studied B.Ed and also you worked in Canada Bank for 26 years.
Yeah. Okay, so I took voluntary retirement in the year 2000. They gave us a good handshake, golden handshakes with pension. So I thought, let me stay at home, enjoy whatever I want to do. And my daughter just, she was just going to England to do her master's. So I was like, eager that I'd stay at home, and so much of free time, this restricted working hours would be behind me. So that's what I did. I took voluntary retirement in the year 2000, and my daughter was going to England, right? So I wrote a recipe book for her of all our very easy recipes for her, just in case she needed to make anything. Like simple, how to make a simple dal. I sent a small pressure cooker with her. Then how to make mince fry. All these things are easy and not many ingredients are required. So she was in the hostel. They call it halls of residence, in the UK, the hostel. So, and each hall has like different floors, and there are 5 rooms around a kitchen and a common room. So if you don't feel like going to the dining room for your food, you could cook something in your kitchen. So once in a way she used to do stuff like that. So her 5 roommates, flatmates, were from Greece and Portugal. One was from Malaysia, 2 were from Spain, and she was the only Indian. So, they were so enamored with her making this easy stuff. So they all took photocopies of the book, and then after that, this went around the world. But even went to Mexico, my handwritten book. So when she finished and she came back, she said, she was explaining about how these people loved all the easy recipes. So she said, now that you've started writing a book for me, why don't you record all these recipes that you usually cook every day, and you see if you can bring out a book. So that gave me an idea, and then I started.
How has your cultural background influenced the food that you're creating and as well as eating?
As I mentioned, I'm from an Anglo-Indian home, so the food that I'm cooking and creating or bringing back to life is what I had in my childhood. So, in those days everything was prepared fresh. So when I started writing these recipes, I had to adjust the ingredients accordingly to suit present day availability of ingredients, that is the fast way of making it. We're using ready-made chili powders and other ingredients that are now easily available, which was not available in the olden days when these recipes were actually created. So that it took a lot of effort, and what I started in the year 2000, it took me like 4 years to bring out my first book. In 2003, I'd sent a whole manuscript of like 500 recipes to all the publishers in Delhi, because we had no publishers anywhere else. All the publishing houses were only in Ansari Road in Delhi, and they were very conservative. They were, they favored only a few authors, cookbook authors, like that Tarala Dalal and Meeta Mehta, okay, all of them. So Sanjeev Kapoor. So they were not willing to test the waters with new cookbook authors. So I spent a lot of money sending this huge manuscript of 500 recipes all over, and they have rejected me. Then I was talking to the president of the Anglo-Indian Guild one day, and I was telling him like how I brought out this manuscript. I want to get a book published, but I'm not able to get any publishers to do it for me. So then he said, see, why are you waiting for someone to publish your book? You publish it yourself, print it and get it published. We'll help you to get it printed, he said. We'll help you to launch it. And then marketing and other things you take care of. So that was a good idea. But then, I was scared to invest too much money, because if I invest and then it doesn't take off, it would have been a real loss for me. So I started hunting around for somebody to print the book. And they were also quoting exorbitant sums. In those days it was all offset printing. So the minimum that you had to print was 1,000 copies, because you had to prepare the plates. And they're very expensive. And so, I was getting quite dejected, that this wouldn't take off. Then I was thinking whether I would just get them, printed and spiral bound or something. But then one day, I just looked at the church calendar, friary calendar, and Mata Prints printers and offset printers was there. So I immediately called them, and Mr. Joy answered the phone, the owner, and I said like this, I have a manuscript, I want to publish a book, print a book, would you do it for me? Yes, madam, you come, he said. They live near Christ College only. And you just come over, we'll discuss it, he said. So I went. It was a small thing in their house only. They had a printing press. He was working for Gokul Das company, and he wanted this like a home industry for his wife. So this was like, I must have been the third customer or fourth customer. The friary was one. They printed the newsletter and the calendars for them, and then I was their fourth or fifth customer, you could say. So then when we went for discussion and I showed him the manuscript, he says, Ma, don't go in for this like this. You just bring out just a few recipes from each section. Let's test the waters, and then you decide what you want to do. After that, you could, subsequently bring out different books under different categories. And I thought that was such a valuable bit of advice that he gave me. So accordingly, I followed his advice, and I made it the best of Anglo-Indian cuisine, a legacy. Okay.
Did you come up with the name?
Yeah. I'm all in all Alagaraja. So I conceived the book. I type out everything. I format. I do everything. Bring them out under each section and everything, and only give it to them for formatting and printing. And even the covers, these are all my own photographs.
Wow.
So this was the first book, which had like around maybe about 100 recipes, and this was like 124 pages. So we priced them at 130, but we said we'll sell it at 100 to whoever buys it. So then this Anglo-Indian Guild, they had a dance in Catholic Club in 2004 November, and at that dance they released this book, and more than 40 copies we sold. And then after that, what I used to do is go to Gangadam's. He used to take 35% commission and give me the rest. I hardly made 10 rupees or 20 rupees on each book, only because I said that 1,000 copies I had to somehow get rid of it. But by the grace of God, it was well received. So what I did was, the very next year, with all whatever I had recouped from selling this book, I invested in this book. So this is called Flavors of the Past, and this book has all the old colonial recipes. So once I started doing research on our Anglo-Indian food, I got interested in colonial Anglo-Indian food. So it was the dak banglas, the railway cuisine, from the tea gardens, from the clubs and recreation places. I said railways also. The army camps, all these places. So this book became Flavors of the Past. And again, priced at 130 rupees, and we were giving it at 100 rupees. So then after some years, became so difficult to... Then subsequently, I brought out one book on the Anglo-Indian festive hamper. Then this book is only about casseroles and baked dishes. This festive hamper has all the Christmas and all the festive goodies. This one was about all the Anglo-Indian food in Calcutta, which is very different from what we cook in the south. Because the East India Company started there in Calcutta. So they have more of a Bengali influence. So then over the years it became very difficult to keep reprinting because of the... first book went about 6,000 copies, I think. 2 or 3 times we had to replace the plates and all that. It became so difficult. So what I did was, I clubbed these 2 books together and made this book. So it has the titles of both the books in both. So this book I entered for the Government Cookbook Awards in 2012, and it was judged as the best culinary history book from India because of the history that I gave about the history and evolution of Anglo-Indian cuisine, how the British left their legacy, then the Scottish influence, the French connection, the Dutch, the Portuguese. More of our food is actually Portuguese. So this was the Anglo-Indian cuisine, a legacy of the flavors of the past. Then these 3 books plus a book called the Anglo-Indian Snack Box was made into this book. So all 4 books were combined and brought out into one volume. So it saved me the trouble of making new plates. Then subsequently what happened was digital printing came into the picture now about a few years ago, maybe like 5-6 years ago. So then what I did was I put it all on Amazon, so it's getting published through them. And now I don't print my own books because it's very difficult to. I used to post the books everywhere whenever people bought from me. It was a big problem, to go to the post office and post it or courier the books. And Gangarams and all, they fleeced me. So I thought enough is enough. So I put everything onto Amazon. They publish on demand and they sell the books. So that's how I got all these books published. So this one was Anglo-Indian tea time treats. I brought back the snack box. Some of them became the tea time treats. Then apart from that, I also brought out a book on egg delicacies for the vegetarians. And then the vegetarian said, you're only writing non-vegetarian recipes. So this book, this vegetarian delicacies, has it's an anglicized vegetarian book. You won't find sambar and kutu and this and that. No. Here you have dal curry. We used to, instead of saying dal, we always said dal in the olden days. And turmeric was always saffron because of the color. And yeah, and this it has a lot of anglicized recipes. I also included soups and stews, baked dishes, snacks, all this, even in the egg book. So you just can't write a recipe offhand. You have to thoroughly go through it. Now you see this book. This is published in 1875. Okay. 1874. And this is actually the second publication. Much before this book had come out. So you see the recipes here, the way they are written, with no proper ingredients, there's no measurements or anything, and no method also about cooking it. So what I did was, using these recipes, I started recreating all the old recipes again. Of course, I had handwritten books. I forgot to take them out. That was written by my mother and grandmother, bits and pieces of paper. I'll show it you later. Okay? So, because the things are all coming apart, I put them in folders. So, those, see this one, you can see even the pages are so frail. So that's how I started. And this is even worse.